Welcome to pattern making class. I'm Annette Julie, and today we're going to work on blouse or shirt styling. So if you watched one of my past videos, you've decided maybe on making a detached placket or a full back placket or a hidden placket. This shirt here, as a detached placket, we would cut one for each side or use a hidden placket on the right side and this on the left side. And I have a copy of my torso, which I made that from. There's my torso front. But you may also use your basic bodice front. So some things to consider when you're thinking about designing is the neckline and the hem, and if you're going to keep all the darts or not, and all kinds of stuff like that. So I've also made a copy here of my back torso. So for instance, right now, we have the neckline up as high as the block goes. This goes way up to the seam on the dress form, and that is an extremely tight neckline for any human being to wear, let alone a dress form, right? So we can go ahead by starting with whatever design we're doing by bringing our neckline open. So right here is the original line right here, and the minimum I would bring it open would be 1/4 of an inch all the way around, okay? So here's a quarter. We're rotating off the original line that we copied. Okay, then we would come with our curve ruler and we would blend all those short lines together. But just opening this up 1/4 inch in the front, we would also do it in the back. This is still not very much. This is for a very tight fitting collar. So you can open it up even more. So from the original line, you could open it up a full 1/2 inch or 3/4 or 1 inch. Whatever you decide. So let's go for 3/4. So I'm going to go from the original line, I'm going out 3/4 of an inch. And I'm going to rotate that around, drawing short little lines. Then take my curve rule and go ahead and blend everything. And so from my original line here, I open this up 3/4 of an inch. So you can, of course, add your 1/4 inch seam allowance in here before you cut anything away. So if you open it up 3/4, you still have to go back on the inside here and put the seam allowance in. So we can do some little short lines. Rotating that around, coming to blend it. And now we're going to open up our neckline. And that includes our seam allowance. We open that up 3/4 of an inch. We're going to do that to the front. You have to come over and do that to the back. So we opened this up 3/4 of an inch, and then we went back in and put in our 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now when you're doing the back neckline, you can do this the parallel amount all the way around, but you can also start where you are here at 3/4 and blend that up to more like 1/2 of an inch. Okay, but you could also make that a really deep V in the back as well. You know, could be very deep, in which case you would contour it. So we'll just stick with the 3/4, and I think I'll blend to like 1/2 of an inch. So let me go ahead and draw a few little short lines. I'm just going down 1/2 inch right here at the center back. Then I'm going to go up to the 3/4. And, of course, I need to put back in my 1/4 inch seam allowance. So we're opening up the neckline front and back. This is your choice of how much, but it's always a good idea to go ahead and do that so that you're not having a blouse or shirt that looks just like the dress, the torso or the dress form, which doesn't fit anybody. So good, we've opened up front and back neckline. Okay, much better. Great. Okay, now that's one thing we can do to our shirt. Now, what is something else we could do? Well, we come over to the bottom of the hem, and this is a torso. Everybody's got the same length. You can bring this hem up. You can have a nice curve here to the center front, like so, with starting straight on the edge, curving down. Okay, it could be even shorter. We could do the same thing in the back. That's an idea. So, decide what hem you like, and let's go ahead and firm that up. It's great to have a hem that's making a right angle here. It's much easier for sewing. So have a little bit of a right angle at your side seam. And this is like a nice casual shirt hem. Let me get this straight here at the center front, and I've raised up my hem several inches at my center front. Now a nice hem length down here could be quarter plus quarter. So you turn and turn. So you could add a 1/2 inch to the bottom of your hem. You've just made a style line. Now you have to add your hem allowance. A quarter, turn and turn would be real nice for a curved hem like that. And go ahead and blend all your lines and raise that side seam up. Now, what you do to the front, you have to do to the back. So I have the piece that I just cut off the front. I can go ahead and trim this out and place this on the bottom and go ahead and match it. I'm going to give this the same curve that I'm matching right there at the side seam. Okay, but in my back, I'm going to curve this down lower. So the front has a shorter curve that we can copy off here with the pencil. So we have a frame of reference. But then I want it to be about 1 inch longer in the back, so I'm going to drop that down. Use my same template, but then I'm going to start angling it back up using that same pattern piece and just sort of blending it back into that line, using that as a little working template. Once you like your line, you can go ahead and trim and go ahead and cut that out. But if you want to, you can make sure that your side seams are the same length. So, here's my front side seam. And I know we can't totally see through it, but look, there's the top. Okay, we have a dart leg right there, and right there, and then we can see the bottom. So we have to walk that side seam together, make sure it's the same length. I can also fold it back and I can line up armpit. And then right here is where the notch is. So let me jump over that notch. Okay, I see that notch for the side seam, lining that up. And then now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to walk the rest of my side seam. I've made it to the waist. And now we're walking it down to the hem. Yep, look, that's exactly where I want it to be, but you're checking yourself, right? Checking that you've done the pattern manipulation correct. Here's our new hem in the back. which includes hem allowance of 1/4 plus 1/4. And then this has a style line, like I said, that's going to be 1 inch longer than that front. Let's lay that on and look at it. Yeah, there's that front. And here's the back, a little bit longer. So we've raised up the hem and we've styled it. And when you go ahead and you sew this together, you can see you have a nice angle at the side seam to be able to turn this back 1/4 plus 1/4 for your hem allowance. 1/4 plus 1/4, and you edge stitch and it's a nice clean finish. Okay, well, let's do a few other things here. Let's go ahead and let's take our blouse in the front and let's go ahead and draw an umpire style line. All right, so right here is our apex, and our bust mound usually is about 3 inches away from the apex. So I'm just going to draw it just so I have an idea of where my bust mound is. Okay, it looks like it's down, you know, right about here. Okay. Now I want to make an umpire top, so I'm going to make the style line come under my bust mound, just like that. But I don't need that dart, and I want to turn this into shirring. Okay, so I'm going to draw a style line. Like to have this straight here at the center front. Then I'm going to go ahead and curve this over to my side seam. And I'm going to cut and separate this. Okay, now I'm going to draw a long dart leg from my side bust dart to my apex. I'm also going to draw from the apex down to the 2 darts that I have. I'm going to pivot this dart into these 2 spaces here, and we're going to create shearing. So let's slash up one of our long dart legs and another one, there we go, to the apex. And of course we have to slash here at the side. Just trimmed away some paper. Now we're going to slash at the side to the apex. And what we want to do is we want to completely close that dart. But I don't always like to cut the dart away. I just like to keep it there for future reference. So I can take my lower portion of my bodice here. That's the neck, armhole, side seam. This is an umpire style line we've made. And we're going to close our side bust dart. We're going to tape that down. And now the fullness of that side bust dart can be distributed in the 2 spots that we already had darts. So we're going to go ahead and take a piece of paper and we're going to put it underneath that area. We're going to tape it down. Here we go. I'm going to go ahead and tape that down there. And we're going to space that evenly. Let's grab some tape. Great. So now we can start to shape it. It's not going to have these pointed lines. What we're going to actually do is we're going to see how far down that is. We've got to curve it, and I'm going to come down even a little bit more, like about 1/4 of an inch. And I'm going to curve and blend this back. This whole area here we're going to allow for shearing. So let me give myself a nice little curve line, starting from the original style line. Curving down below, look, I went down about 1/4 of an inch, and I'm off that tip. I'm going down a full 3/8 right here, blending. Flip your curve ruler, blending another curve line, blending back into our style line. Okay, so we have given it a really nice style line to go underneath the bust mount. Now we have to see how much fabric we have to shear. Well, right here we have our space that we added plus a little bit of the dart. So I'm going to add the measure the full amount. That looks like this is 3/4 from here to here, right? Now I'm going to measure over here too. I've got this little space plus that little dart amount. So I'm going to measure that full amount, and I've got another 3/4 of an inch right there. So we also want to decide where we're going to put that shearing. Here is where our apex rests. So we would want the shearing maybe to be distributed on both sides of the apex. So I'm going to go out about 2 inches on both sides down at the style line. And I'm going to draw an arrow from here to here. Okay, now that's 4 inches. Look at, here's our apex. And I went out 2, and I went out 2, and this is 4 inches. So we're going to shear our 4 inches to, and what we have to take off is, we're going to minus 3/4, because that's from here to here. And we're going to minus another 3/4 from there to there. That's 1.5 inches total. So we're shearing 4 inches to 2 1/2 inch. Okay, that's what we're doing in this area. You would add your seam allowance here. Because this is a regular seam, this would be 1/2 inch. Coming down 1/2 inch. And you would write that note up on the pattern.